Welcome to Artful Commerce. In this episode, we'll talk about how to bring creativity into your business or organization. Let's start by defining some of the ways businesses think about creativity. For some companies, creativity is a core strategic tool used to identify a future vision. These types of companies often use creative techniques to help them identify their long-term goals, as well as the products and services that will move them in that direction. You've most definitely encountered these types of companies before. Just think of Apple, Meta, Google, and Adobe. There are others that have a rather traditional business model, but with creativity as their core offering. Think of companies like record labels, entertainment production companies, creative agencies, or even fashion houses. These businesses work by hiring creative individuals and generating revenue from their skill sets. Then there are those that leverage creativity more at the surface level. Their business model, products and services are all quite conventional, but they will heavily invest in creativity for their marketing, branding and communications. You might see these in the consumer goods and service spaces like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Netflix or FedEx. And lastly, we have companies that tend not to put too much emphasis on creativity. These companies also use it for their marketing, branding and communications work, but it's often heavily constrained and diluted. You might see these types of companies in the banking, insurance, or telecommunications space, among others. There's lots of discussion about what helps or hinders companies leverage creativity. Often the argument boils down to whether the business has a culture of creativity or not. And while it's true that some companies seem to be more inherently creative than others, there are more specific reasons we can uncover that prevent many companies from unlocking their creative potential. Firstly, creativity can feel silly. It's often thought of as that thing that art school students do in between dyeing their hair weird colours and waking up next to piles of empty pot noodle containers. Many in the professional working world see creativity as something trivial and less than important. Secondly, whenever money is involved, decisions feel a lot heavier. Businesses often see creative ideas as quite risky. When the stakes are low or there's no accountability on your shoulders, then risk isn't such a big deal. But when a company's financial health is reliant on your choices, the desire for creative risk drops dramatically. Similarly, it's easier for businesses to focus on the downsides of risks rather than their rewards. It might seem like a better idea to try to maintain the status quo rather than the benefits from taking creative risks and disrupting the current path. But if that's where your head is at, maybe ask Blockbuster Video or Kodak how that worked out for them. Thirdly, many people who don't come from traditionally creative backgrounds don't think they have the ability to be creative. So it can be quite difficult to break out of a personal comfort zone in order to try something they might not feel confident in. And lastly, creative ideas are both inherently subjective and deeply personal. When a creative idea is shared, its subjectivity could mean that the person hearing it doesn't really like it, and because that idea can feel very personal, a critical dismissal of it can feel like a personal rejection. These types of environments can quickly stifle creativity, leading to a culture of people not wanting to share those types of ideas. For all the many reasons it can be hard for a business to act creatively, there are even more reasons as to why they should. One of the biggest reasons is due to the constantly changing business landscape. In this day and age, the rapid pace of market forces means that businesses can find themselves being disrupted quicker than you can say, "Oh no, our business has been disrupted." It could be that a new innovative competitor has come along and stolen your market share, or a natural disaster has wreaked havoc on your material supply chain, preventing you from making the stuff that makes you money. In any case, doing the same thing isn't going to help, so it's time to think creatively. In the same way that creativity can be used to help you pivot when disruptions occur, it can also help you to plan ways to prevent disruptions from happening in the first place. Through creative problem and opportunity framing, you can proactively identify new opportunities before your competition does, giving you a stronger market edge. And lastly, creativity is incredibly useful when thinking up new products and services. When businesses solve their customers' needs in unique and surprising ways, they have a much better chance of cutting through in a crowded market and grabbing people's attention. We covered this topic in more detail in our previous video, Build a Business Your Customers Care About. With all that said, let's look at some examples of businesses that used creativity to their advantage. Uber is an example of a company that leveraged creativity at its very inception. The business idea was quite novel as it combined unrelated elements into a seemingly new output. The elements were things like taxis, mobile ordering, and GPS tracking, things that Uber themselves didn't invent, but creatively merged into an innovative business. This type of creative technique is often referred to as a mashup and is based on the thought that innovations are never truly new, just new combinations of previous concepts. We'll discuss this technique and more in future videos. Another example we can look at is Google. Beyond just the initial innovation of their search engine business, Google is well known for creating a space for free-form creativity within their business practice. This is called 20% time, and it allows employees to spend 20% of their employment time working on any idea they like. Some of the innovations from this way of working include Google News and even Gmail. If you're hoping to bring creativity further into your organisation or team, there are a few handy pointers that can get you moving in the right direction. Firstly, start small. Creative risks can seem quite scary, so it's best to build a culture of creativity by earning trust. That happens when multiple low-risk initiatives can generate small wins. Maybe it's something as simple as testing a new creative headline on your email newsletter and measuring the open rate. Whatever it is, those small wins over time will build more trust in the value of creativity, leading to bigger opportunities. Secondly, make sure to bring decision makers along on the journey at key steps. You might have a brilliant creative idea, but if the person who needs to approve it doesn't feel as though they have understood how you got to that point, they're unlikely to feel comfortable giving it the green light. Make sure they have enough background, context, and even input throughout the development of the creative idea. And lastly, avoid giving overly critical feedback to creative ideas. If a colleague or employee presents an idea that feels unrealistic or naive, it's easy just to say, "That'll never work, now go back to filling out your timesheets." But as mentioned earlier, this will stifle creativity. A more constructive approach is to test the creative idea out in a safe way. By doing this, you're supporting your colleagues' initiatives and even applauding them for it. And if it fails, no harm, no foul, as it was done in a way that minimised risk. Here are some key takeaways for you to think about when attempting to bring more creativity into your organisation or team. Decide where creativity will best serve your business. Is it as a strategic tool? Is it your core offering? Maybe it's something completely new, but whatever it is, set up some boundaries for creativity to play within. Create the time and safe space for colleagues and employees to think outside the box. Encourage creative ideas and be slow to criticise. People need to feel safe to play for creativity to comfortably thrive. Pick small, meaningful wins where creativity can show its value while minimising risk and the fear associated with it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like our short shorts. We like short shorts. Share your French fries. You're not going to eat all of those, right? And subscribe to whichever platform currently streams Frasier. And if you're an entrepreneur, startup, or corporation looking to build new, meaningful products and services, then please follow this channel for future videos where we'll cover ideas and topics about creativity and innovation. See you next time.